So I've been noticing that the mainstream media has given a really positive portrayal of the leader of the Syrian revolution, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, and I've been wondering, why is this Zionist media that for the past 13 months has whitewashed the crimes of Israel against the Palestinian people, why are they so optimistic about this particular figure? So I thought I'd look at all of these different mainstream news outlets and compare how they depict Jolani versus someone comparable like Yahya Sinwar. For example, here is the Times with the headline, "Who is Abu Muhammad al-Jolani? Polite Syrian leader heads home." But when we compare to their coverage of Yahya Sinwar, cruel and uncompromising Hamas terrorist. CNN says how Syria's rebel leader went from radical jihadist to a blazer-wearing revolutionary. When it comes to Sinwar, Hamas leader said civilian death toll could benefit militant group in Gaza war. So Sinwar doesn't care about dying civilians. It just helps you militarily. BBC says, from Syrian jihadist leader to rebel politician, how Abu Muhammad al-Jolani reinvented himself. It's a complete makeover. But when it came to Sinwar, Hamas hardliner Yahya Sinwar elected as Gaza leader. He's a hardliner with a disturbing past. The Telegraph says moderate jihadist leader storms Syria but tells troops not to frighten the children. All these reports are from the past week, by the way. Week or week and a half. The Telegraph on Sinwar, Hamas leader believes civilian deaths are necessary sacrifices in Israeli war, leaked letters show. Yahya Sinwar appears to be stalling ceasefire talks and using Palestinian fatalities to his advantage. This is a bloodthirsty man who doesn't even care about the deaths of his own people. The Financial Times says, Abu Muhammad al-Jolani, the Syrian rebel leader who overthrew the Assad regime, the offensive by his Islamist group has marked a turning point in the country's bloody 13-year civil war. But when it comes to Sinwar, the Financial Times says, ruthless architect of Hamas's October 7th attack. Sky News says, West has nothing to fear from Syria rebel leader whose group ousted Assad, tells Sky News. But when it comes to Sinwar, terrorist mastermind is dead and we must celebrate the end of his evil regime. Quite a contrast. Another Sky News article, Yahya Sinwar's death marks a vicious flame of terrorism extinguished. Wall Street Journal says, 5 things to know about rebel leader Abu Muhammad al-Jolani. But for Sinwar, Gaza chief's brutal calculation, civilian bloodshed will help Hamas. So over and over again, we see that Sinwar doesn't care about the death of his own people. He's just a cold, ruthless, brutal, calculating menace. Terrorist. The Washington Post says, Syrian rebels offer to help U.S. search for journalist Austin Tice. Wow, so helpful. These rebels are just helping everyone. But for Sinwar, architect of massacre in Israel. After years in Israeli prison, he used his hardline influence in Gaza to build Hamas into a powerful militia force. Bloomberg says, Syria's rebel leader al-Jolani needs a chance. But when it comes to Sinwar, Bloomberg says Hamas's new political chief has cunning, brutal past. And it's not just mainstream media outlets where we see this dichotomy. Even Washington think tanks and policy institutes have the same talking points. The Washington Institute for Near East Policy, for example, hardcore neocon Zionists, they say how Syria's diversity-friendly jihadists plan on building a state. This is an article from last week talking about Jolani and the rebels. They're diversity friendly. But then when it comes to Sinwar, this is what they had to say. His death can bring the Middle East closer to peace. The long elusive terrorist was known for brutality to Israelis and Gazans alike. You know, they keep repeating this, that he just even hates Palestinians. He wants to see them die for his own political calculation. And his passing opens the door to diplomatic, economic, and political progress. So obviously all the articles about Jolani are positive. These are all hardcore Zionist outlets, but for some reason they have nothing but optimism when it comes to the rebels. It's interesting. The million-dollar question is this a coordinated media blitz to get the American public and the Western public at large primed for U.S. and Israeli cooperation and involvement with the new Syrian government? Or can this all be explained by the simple fact that the Zionist establishment hated Bashar al-Assad and they're going to be positive about anyone who would have toppled him? Evidence that this is not just some organic outpouring of positivity about Jolani is the fact that all of these articles have the exact same 3 talking points. Number 1, Jolani has a checkered past, an extremist past with ISIS and al-Qaeda. And yes, we know that these are terrorist groups that have killed civilians, but that past is behind him. That was a phase, and now he's a moderate. Number 2, he loves diversity and he vows to protect minorities at all costs. And the third talking point is that he is a promising figure and that the West should give him a chance.
Of course, we're now being told that al-Jolani on his way to Damascus underwent transformation, which I find utterly laughable. But even if we assume for the sake of argument that that's true, when did the West ever give terrorists a free pass because suddenly they woke up one day and found that they had a conscience? Whatever happened to the idea that people should be held accountable for their heinous crimes? Is it as simple as that? Do we simply have to say, you know what, we've decided to be inclusive and democratic from this day forward, so my slate should be wiped clean? That appears to be the new philosophy of Western governments.